Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and today, that's what I was gonna say. Today, I do need to make an apology. The last couple of episodes I've been doing on the Supreme Court, which we're going to continue today, Supreme Court, but I've just been reading straight off Britannica.com, which is lazy. I do cite the source, but just reading it like that is akin to plagiarism because you're just writing down what they're writing down. You're not putting your own spin and information into it, or rewording it or anything. So that is my bad. My history professors, I'm sorry. Dr. Lee, Dr. Newcomer, Dr. Scanlon, Dr. Carter, Dr. Fritz. Who else was the history professor I had? Anyway, yeah, that was a big screw up on my part. I didn't want to put the effort in, and I was being lazy. So I have to apologize, and I will be trying to incorporate multiple sources together and not just read a source. So I just needed to get that out of the way. Let's go ahead and jump into this. Supreme Court, and today we are talking about members of the Marshall Court, besides John Marshall. And there are a total of 10 people like that, but today we're only going to cover the first 5. So, let's get into this. The Marshall Court itself, I do have to mention because I didn't mention it last time. The other courts, the Supreme Courts of the U.S., had been taking place in the old City Hall in Philadelphia. Under the Marshall Court, I think it was a year into the Marshall Court, as a matter of fact, they moved to Washington, D.C., where the court takes place now in Washington, D.C. It's not the same building, but at least now at this point, they are in Washington, D.C. And the court also does increase in size under the Marshall Court, from 6 members to 7. So we will have a brand new member on the court. But let's see. Everything's going so slow right now, so bear with me. So, yeah. The Supreme Court does move from taking place in the old City Hall in Philadelphia to Washington, D.C. in 1800, it says. This is on the Supreme Court's own website, supremecourt.gov. There had been no Supreme Court building actually built. So, it had no actual permanent home yet. For a short time, the Supreme Court does convene in the actual Capitol, I'm assuming the Capitol building, but that does get set fire to by the British during the War of 1812. Following this, the court does actually return to the Capitol building and met from 1819 to 1860 in a chamber now restored as the old Supreme Court chamber. So, this is where the martial court does take place. In a chamber of the Capitol. I'm assuming the actual Capitol building, so. But it's taking a while here. Bear with me. Everything's just like you've had these bookmarks or these tabs open forever. We've got to think and work, computer. And it's like, all right, come on, work with me here. But as we said, there's 5 people we're going to talk about today as part of the 10-person Marshall Court besides Marshall himself. First person we're talking about today is William Johnson Jr., born in South Carolina in 1771. He would pass away in Brooklyn, New York in 1834. He served as an associate justice. Who did he replace? He replaced Moore, Alfred Moore. And he would serve for 30 years and 89 days. So he serves most of the Marshall court time period. Because remember, we talked Marshall served 34 years and 152 days. So Johnson served a great period of that time with them. And Johnson was actually put forth by Thomas Jefferson. Johnson was served from May the 7th, 1804 to August the 4th, 1834, when he dies in office, still as a judge. So, all right, let's take a closer look. Johnson. He was educated at the College of New Jersey, which is now known as Princeton University, around 1790, and read law in 1793. He also, besides serving as a Supreme Court justice, was a private practice lawyer in South Carolina from 1793 to 1794, a state representative of the state of South Carolina from 1794 to 1799, and the Speaker of the South Carolina House of Representatives, 1798 to 1799, and then served as a judge for the South Carolina Court of Common Pleas from 1799 to 1804. Let's see what else was going on with William Johnson. Um, ba, 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 ba. Appointed by Thomas Jefferson, he was the first Democratic Republican justice of the U.S. Supreme Court. Okay. Johnson would often express independent views from the Marshall Court and had been accustomed to preparing seriatim opinions on the state court, meaning that every member of the court gave their own opinion. But under the Marshall Court, they gave one opinion if you agreed with this side, or if there was a dissenting opinion, you had the justices under the dissenting opinion, and one person give that dissenting opinion. But Johnson kind of plays the counterbalance to Marshall. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's anything else we want to mention about Johnson, and nothing we really want to talk about with Johnson. I think that's pretty much everything. So let's look at the next person, who is Henry BrockHost Livingston. Okay. Henry BrockHost Livingston replaced Paterson, who was part of the original court. Well, he was part of the original nominees by Washington, I should say. So Livingston replaces Paterson. And Livingston himself was from New York, and would serve as an associate justice for 16 years and 57 days from January the 20th, 1807 to March the 18th, 1823. And of course, he was nominated by Thomas Jefferson. So yeah, Henry BrockHost Livingston. Come on, computer, work with me here. There you go. He was born in New York, New York in 1757 and died in Washington, D.C. in March of 1823. He did serve in the Continental Army at the age of 19 and saw action under Benedict Arnold and as an aide to General Philip John Schuyler and General Arthur St. Clair before accompanying his brother-in-law, John Jay, the first Supreme Court justice, on his mission to solicit aid from Spain in 1779. Let's see. Studied law at Albany. Also studied at the College of New Jersey, again, now Princeton, around 1774, and read law 1783. So, yeah. That was Henry BrockHost Livingston. Let's look at the next person. Next person we're going to talk about is the last judge nominated by Thomas Jefferson. His name was Thomas Todd, and he was from Kentucky. He was the new seat added to the Supreme Court. Because remember, at the beginning of the video, I did mention we went from 6 to 7 seats, and Thomas Todd was that addition. He served 18 years and 341 days in the Supreme Court as an Associate Justice from March the 3rd, 1807 to February the 7th, 1826. Now, he was born in King and Queen County, Virginia, 1765, and died in Frankfort, Kentucky in 1826. Let's see. His education was Liberty Hall Academy, which is now known as Washington and Lee University, in 1783, and he also read law in 1786. So, yeah. He worked a number of other courts. Um, he was a private practice attorney. He, in Danville, Kentucky, was a clerk to the U.S. District Court, the District of Kentucky, clerk to the Kentucky Constitutional Conventions, a clerk to the Lexington, Kentucky Democratic Society, a clerk to the Kentucky House of Representatives, clerk to the Kentucky Court of Appeals, a judge to the Kentucky Court of Appeals before finally being a member of the Supreme Court. And again, he would die in office. So, I think I was reading that right. Yeah, he died in office. And let's see what else we can find out. Uh, do, 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 do. Not much else we have on Todd himself. So let's take a look at the next person on our list, who is going to be Gabriel Dubois. He was from Maryland and replaced Salmon Chase. I think that was his name, Salmon Chase, Salmon P. Chase. No, Samuel Chase. I thought it was Salmon. Samuel Chase. Um, so yeah, he replaces Samuel Chase and serves on the Supreme Court from November the 23rd of 1811 through January the 12th of 1835, a total of 23 years and 50 days. And he does resign, so he doesn't die in office. And another notice, he is the first Supreme Court justice nominated by James Madison, who is at this point now president. So James Madison nominates Gabriel Dubois to the Supreme Court. Okay, come on. Let's see. What else can we find out about Dubois? We don't see a mention of what school he went to. It just says Red Law, 1778. He is from Prince George's County, Maryland, because that's where he was born and where he died. Born Prince George's County, Maryland, 1752, and died in Prince George's County, Maryland, in 1844. Let's see. Was part of the Maryland State Militia during the battles of Brandywine and Morristown in the American Revolution. Let's see. He would be a state delegate to Maryland, then a U.S. representative from Maryland, before becoming Chief Justice for the Maryland General Court and Comptroller to the U.S. Department of the Treasury, before finally being the Supreme Court Justice. Let's see. Let's see. He was the great-grandson of Gabriel Dubois, a merchant and wealthy planter who immigrated from Maryland from Nantes in the mid-17th century. So yeah, he had a lot of history in Maryland. He was the first U.S. Comptroller of the Treasury, being nominated by Jefferson. And like we said, Madison appointed him to the U.S. Supreme Court. According to Britannica here, he wrote relatively few opinions, though he did dissent in the Dartmouth College case of 1819. Let's see. And that's really all we have on actual Duval. So let's look at the last member we wanted to talk about today. And that is Joseph Story. Joseph Story was from Massachusetts and served 33 years and 219 days as an associate justice from February the 3rd, 1812 to September the 10th, 1845, and was appointed by James Madison. He replaced William Cushing, who I believe was the last of the original justices. Yeah. So he replaced the last of the first 6 original justices. But yeah, Joseph Story. Let's take a look at what we can find out about Story. Born September 1779 in Marblehead, Massachusetts, and died September the 10th of 1845 in Cambridge, Massachusetts. His education was from Harvard College in 1798 and reading law in 1801. He would actually die while he was still in the Supreme Court. Before being a member of the Supreme Court, he was a private practice lawyer in Massachusetts, a state representative for Massachusetts, as well as Speaker of the Massachusetts House, the United States representative from Massachusetts, and a professor of law at Harvard while he was on the Supreme Court. So, yeah. Let's see what else we can find. While teaching law at Harvard, he delivered lectures that he elaborated into a monumental series of 9 legal commentaries, some of which had international influence. This is again according to Britannica.com. Prominent Jeffersonian Republican, which was afterward called the Democratic Party, which is what it's known as today. President James Madison appointed Story. I think I mentioned that already. Okay. Let's see. What else have we got we really want to talk about with Story? He was the first Dane professorship of law at Harvard Law School, which was founded specifically for him by a writer on law, Nathan Dane. Which the endowment paid for the publication of the aforementioned commentaries by Joseph Story. The commentary in conflicts affected numerous statutes and treaties of Latin American nations, and Alexis de Tocqueville drew heavily on Story's constitutional commentary, which de Tocqueville has a book on the U.S. and democracy. But he was an author of that age. But yeah, Joseph Story. But altogether, that will be the first 5 we are going to talk about under the Martial Court. I will have the sources in the description below. But as always, educate thyself, think, read, study, learn. Someone tries to tell you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. But I'll see you all in the next video. Until then, later.